Like, oh, I forgot my glasses though. Damn. So I guess I came back a little preemptively. The only reason I wear glasses is because, like, yeah, actually, it is like I am far enough from the screen to where it definitely helps, but they block the blue light. I think I was so adorned by my own reflection that I forgot part of the reason I was breaking was to grab the fucking blue light glasses. So I will be right back. Let me do that. Um, and then we'll get on with the evening. Okay, thanks. Okay, my jingly ass is back with the blue light blocking glasses. Alright. So, how's everybody doing? Me and this one other person. That's everybody, and we're doing great. Thanks for asking. Yeah, no problem. Okay. So the agenda this evening primarily focused on the Halloween Oracle, obviously. I had to take a couple days off and recoup from the whole ordeal that ensued over the past 3 or 4 days. So I'm not even keeping it light tonight. I'm packing in 4 people to one evening. So rather than starting with the demon deck like I have been the past few streams for Halloween, skipping that shit tonight and going straight for the Halloween Oracle. I forgot that I left some angel cards on the table from my last stream, and nor did I intend to not stream for 3 days. But things happen. So I will be revealing these, but probably not drawing any more. Debating on doing them now. I'm like scratching at it. I kind of want to do it now, but I also feel like maybe do them later. Ugh, just these 3, fine. Scorpio, Cancer, Commitment. That's weird. Seems random. Scorpio, Cancer, and Commitment. So, could be, if you or someone you're dealing with has Cancer or Scorpio placements, could be someone you met during Cancer season and they come back around during Scorpio season. Heavy on the water energy, so it could just be water energy in general. But I was literally scratching and tapping at these 3 cards. And commitment. So that's interesting. Where it's like perhaps this is saying something that you decided to commit to during Cancer season that you've stayed committed to. You have to remain committed through the next few weeks during Libra season to see it come to fruition. 420 during Scorpio season. Kind of like a timeline thing. So starting there. Plus, Frida Kahlo. No, I added glasses. Frida Kahlo is a Cancer. I don't know anybody's birthdays besides Frida Kahlo. It's like July 7th, I think. So, positive, homie. I changed the lighting also. But yeah, I look like that girl Matilda is friends with these glasses on and this dress. It's like I should look like Miss Honey, but I look like the little girl who got her shit rocked with the pigtails. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Matilda all day. Okay. So, I'm going to start. We might start with Frida. Okay, we might get sick of the light, but we thought the colors for the artists. So, I'm doing paintings tonight. Painters. I should maybe do a painting. That would be cool. I was thinking that I try to collaborate with William Shakespeare and Kurt Cobain on writing the greatest sonnet ever. But I had not considered the fact that I'd be talking to four painters and that perhaps I should paint. But I guess we'll see later. That could be a cool switch to art stream at some point in the evening. So, like I said, Frida Kahlo's a Cancer. I want to say she's a Mexican. She's from Mexico, Guatemala. I don't know. Same with Van Gogh. I'm like, is he Belgian? I don't know if they are telling me these things or if they're things I've known in passing over time. Diego Rivera was Frida Kahlo's husband? Or was it someone else? I think it was him. And I guess, yeah, I don't know much. So, just like with the other night, you'd have to fact check kind of like on your own. We could always pull stuff up during the stream, and it seems more genuine to just go with it in the moment and figure out what it meant later, in a sense. So, I'm just going to kind of jump in and see who wants to come out when. But once again, the lineup tonight is going to be Jackson Pollock, Vincent Van Gogh, Frida Kahlo, and Artemisia. Artemisia! She gets so mad because I can't say her fucking name. Artemisia Gentileschi. Artemisia Gentileschi. So that's going to be our Halloween Oracle lineup for the evening. Frida requested that we have red wine. I said no can do, too late. I should have asked earlier, but I didn't feel like going to the store, so I didn't. She said, fine, coffee, but you better spice it up. So I put some spices in here. Cheers to everyone. Especially because it was a mutually agreed upon to have coffee as they all enjoyed it because Van Gogh didn't drink, actually. I don't know. Once again, nothing I'm saying is supposed to be historically accurate. It's the messages that I'm receiving, right? So I'm not claiming to be a buff on any of these people. I never was a fan of Jackson Pollock, I'll be honest. It was a request and I'm honoring it and fitting him into art night. I was into Van Gogh when I was young, but, you know, I know a lot about him, but also not that much about him. Vague, remembering things vaguely. Just because I know I've seen the exhibit, so I read all the information cards, but that was also like 20 years ago, so it's like, I remember 1846 being perhaps a relevant date. Jelly Boy Fresh, bitch. Probably, but not alcohol. So, yeah, that would make sense. I know that he didn't really, like, cut his whole ear off. He, like, clipped a part of it to send to his lover, because she said that she didn't want to talk to him anymore. He said that I don't need to hear something weird like that. But she was actually like a whore or something. I don't know what the fuck that was about. And we painted sunflowers. So, and Frida Kahlo, like I said, I'm pretty sure she was married to. Okay, touche. I think it depends on the paint. Watercolors you drink, right? Unless you eat their palettes. Oil paint also I feel like you might drink because oil you drink. But then like acrylic is plastic. You might have to like eat that. Is it dried paint or wet paint? You know, what's the solvent? It's hard to say. I think it's either or though. I think you can both eat or drink, but shouldn't paint, right? Okay, so, and then Artemisia Gentileschi, I'd never heard of, but once again, another request. She was like a very old Italian painter. Yes, Van Gogh tonight. Doing Van Gogh. Are you a buff on Van Gogh? Yep, also Kahlo. It's art night, baby. You just missed. Yeah, they were requested. I think you requested Van Gogh, and then someone else requested him too. But yeah, I'm doing all of them tonight. Not all of them, 4 people. Jackson Pollock, Vincent Van Gogh, Frida Kahlo, and Artemisia Gentileschi. I can only say her name as an Italian. I don't know why. I look at it and I'm like, what? Artemisa. Artissima is what I kept saying earlier. Yeah, yeah. So that's what we're doing tonight. Okay, that's a way to put it. I was thinking dried paint and like paint chips you'd have to crunch into versus like liquid paint or thinned by water or paint thinner for that matter. Could be more drinkable. Who are you? Gosh, Twitch is so funny, isn't it? Jelly Boy Fresh. I'm kind of obsessed with your name. I'm not even gonna lie. What a night to be new here, don't you think? Especially just because as of lately things have gotten a little around here, and also took the last few days off. So funny. Okay. Like I said, skipping the. You're welcome. Jelly Kid! Yeah. Well, honestly, I saw this dress and was like, oh, this will be perfect for Frida night. And then I was like, well, maybe I should get more dressed up. And I was like, wait a second, I'm doing Van Gogh also. Of course I would wear a sunflower dress, but it was actually inspired by Frida and then realized it was appropriate for Van Gogh. Isn't that funny? I thought it was funny. Cool. Dude, I love this pen also. It's like a fucking baseball bat. It's so fucking cute to me. I don't know. I just, what a great thing to hold. I think I picked it up because I remember, I think I have it somewhere, but I don't think it writes anymore. At one point, I had a wooden shaped pen that was a sunflower, like a stem with a leaf and a sunflower head on it. It was made out of wood. And I got it at the Detroit Institute of Arts Van Gogh exhibit 20 years ago, which I referenced like 5 minutes ago because I was like, I don't know that much about Van Gogh, but at a time I did learn a lot about him. So anything that comes through could be factual with Van Gogh only. I don't know much about the rest of them. And Frida, again, I feel like, yeah, she was married to Diego Rivera, but it wasn't like the best marriage, right? Tortured soul, lots of trauma. Latina? Mexican? Can't remember. You know what I mean? Don't know shit about Jackson Pollock. He's American. I never liked him. I'm so sorry to admit that right before I'm about to talk to him. Death changes my mind about people all the time. Don't feel too bad. Fixating on this. Oh my god, is it Mexican Heritage Month? But is she actually Mexican? Something tells me she's from Guatemala. Okay. Which she could be. I don't know. Could be. Whatever. Both, I guess. Cool. So ultimately the request was coffee, but yeah, they'll smoke a joint. Like, Jackson Pollock smoked weed. I could tell you that. Vincent Van Gogh, I don't think I've ever tried it. Frida Kahlo with mixed feelings on it. Artissima. See, if I don't take my time and say it like an Italian, like I'm destined to be. I'm born and raised very Italian American. I'm talking on my ass and being goofy right now. Artemisia Gentileschi. I literally cannot say it unless I fixate on it like that. It's so funny. She smoked, I think, opium or something akin to opium rather than smoking weed. So Jackson Pollock's like, I'll take the joint. Everyone's like, sure, I'll smoke it too. But coffee was the request for all four this evening, other than the red wine that I didn't get in time. I could not have handled alcohol today, honestly. Frida, thank you for compromising. And she says, you're welcome. Okay. I am very fixated on this knot on the back of my head, so this is interesting for a few reasons, because one, I started divulging information about my accident 3 years ago around this time. So the knot on my head that I'm referring to is actually, like, I don't know if it was necessarily a bad staple job or not, but I did end up getting about 7-ish staples in my head. Kind of, when I got these stitches and all other things, right? And like I said, I'm not saying that they did a bad job, but I have all, like, a bunch of these, like, weird bumps and scars that I think are from, yeah, I know, I'll tell you more on Halloween, I think, or come November. It gets easier. The closer we get, the more clear it becomes. It's a very complicated story, but I started telling it in my Halloween Day 1 John Lennon video. It was, God, it was a long night. Like, it was a bunch of parts, and it took a long time. But I did start telling the story. I didn't talk about how I got the injuries, though. I didn't get that far. It's slowly being unrailed, and Halloween is when a lot of it took place, so it's easier to mile mark, before or after Halloween. Thanks. That is so fucking creepy, and oddly enough, you were. So, isn't that even weirder? Right? Anyways, so yeah. So, yeah, no shit. It was 3 years ago. So, whatever. Yeah, it's weird. I keep fixating on this one spot. But the thing is, I'm wondering if one of them has some kind of connection to this. Okay, well, first of all, you already told me that you have this very odd mental disorder that can be really hard to distinguish a person's true intentions, and could deal with multiple personalities, so maybe only one of you is apt to be a bodyguard and one of the other isn't, right? So, not to discriminate against you because of that, but should you be a bodyguard? You should ask yourself that. See, I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if it's my own fixation and it's supposed to be that I want to sit here and maybe I should mention more from that night. Okay, that's great. That's good. I'm happy for you. Or should I assume that it would be someone else kind of attaching something to that part of their head or the knot? So it begins, so it begins, so it begins. Okay, I feel like this is going to be an interesting evening. We kind of like the party lights, but at the same time, we don't like the party lights. It's like there's no good color. Everybody wants a different color, so the rainbow seems smart, but it is a little distracting almost. If I just turn it, that's very much helpful. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot more helpful. Cool. Yeah, I think somebody got hit. Okay, so I wrote them on my board. I cleaned my board so I could rewrite it. I wrote a bunch of random thoughts in my journal. I'll read them out loud to y'all. We could talk about them later or in between people, because there's some pretty funny stuff. Just random things I think throughout the week, and I write on my board and then bring up when I don't have anything else to say on the street, basically. I think so. I think Jackson Pollock hit his head. It's not that he got hit. I think he hit his head as a kid. And that's when he saw his paintings. That's kind of how his creation came to be, is he hit his head and he kind of, it was one of those things where he like closed his eyes and he would see this line work, these like entanglements as flashes of this like blue electricity, which is weird because that's what Tesla and I talked about the other night, was how I started having these meditations and seeing Tesla towers and how he revealed himself so much earlier. But it's like, yes, that same kind of energy. I don't even know when Jackson Pollock was alive, y'all. He's an American artist, and he was thriving in the 80s, died in the 80s, though. Short-lived career, 46-ish years old, maybe born in 46, something like that, right? I could be way off. I don't know. Like I said, I remember learning about him in elementary school, was never a fan, have not paid attention, was here by request. That's what I'm getting. Someone else can fact check if they want to. We can always fact check after. But that was just an interesting tidbit where, like, he started getting visions after he hit his head. And he wasn't sure if he did damage, but the thing is, he never wanted to tell anyone because he was so inspired by it that he was doing these paintings that somehow, even though they really were nothing, it was almost like the vision told him what the paintings would be worth. And so he was afraid that if he saw a neurological, doctor or something, that he would essentially like be giving up his connection to source. And it was not spiritual at the time. He honestly thought perhaps it was not drug induced, but he understood this wasn't necessarily like a normal thing. and was well aware that it might have been brain damage, but like he just did not want to give it up. And he said even the voice would tell him what color to use, and like he would see these paintings before he painted them. And honestly, that's impressive because you're not really painting it, are you, Jackson Pollock? You're pouring. So it was just crazy that he'd get the vision and be able to just make a mess, and it would come out exactly as he envisioned it, which is really hard because even in I'm a necromancer. I know that's why I said it was a weird night for you to join and be new here. It's Halloween time. So I talk to dead people. If you want me to prove it, I can definitely try to tap into some of your own connections. I have definitely had a whole ass fucking stream with this chick's dad. It was kind of really dope, but also maybe sad. But I don't know. She hasn't been back, but she seemed to really like it. So it can be cool. But yeah, I'd let people choose public figures or go based on birthdays. So for Halloween, feels thin. Trying to fit in as many people as possible. Shit, I gotta do my 20-minute ad roll. Thank you for getting me out of that one. BRB. Wow, mid roll over here. LOL. Um, Very cool stuff. I was just connecting more with Jackson Pollock. And once again, you can verify yourselves. I don't necessarily trust all my information to be accurate, but they tell me what they tell me, and I have verified through personal effect that my readings or channel messages are fairly accurate overall. Um, it's just hard when, I don't know anyone who could verify any of this, and like we can find it on the internet perhaps if we have access to that kind of information, yet there's only so much we can really verify. So one of the things that came to mind just now, and I'm like kind of connecting with Jackson Pollock over this joint that I'm rolling, is when he finally did tell people about these visions he was having, he was much older, and people did think it was the drugs because he did smoke weed, and he had to explain, like, my I've been doing this since I was a kid. Like, I've been seeing these things since I hit my head. It was like 9 years old he hit his head, and could see these paintings, but it wasn't until he got older that he actually started to make them. And once again, like, one very, very monumentous factor to all of this was that he could see them, but they came out perfect replicas. And as an artist myself, who very much struggles with my inner vision being way higher quality and way more specifically detailed and so much better than anything that I've produced, and I'm okay saying that because I'm not super skilled in the technical art. I'm more of a natural, just hack of life, okay? I have no problem saying I'm subpar compared to my own desire of creation. So to make something abstract and random and can see it and be able to conceive it perfectly kind of blows me away. It changes my opinion about his art. That's something he really talked about, because the one time he confessed to someone that he had been having these visions, once again they blamed exactly. Um, oh, yeah, I am. Jack of all trades, master of none. but a hack of all things is better than not getting in at all, right? No, I'm just kidding. So he just never really talked about it. And like I said, like I mentioned before the commercials, like there was a voice that would tell him what color. He wouldn't always see the colors in the visions because it was really like blue nets of like this weird like electricity. And some of his more like refined paintings were him trying to. Oh, see, I never got into oil paintings. I did one really good one that people I've always loved that I gave to one of my baby bros over time. And he loves it. He loves that painting. Maybe I should get back into oils myself after this conversation. So yeah, Jackson Pollock was definitely a lot more interesting than he let himself be in life because he was more concerned about what people would think, because he did idolize people like Van Gogh and look up to them, but know that the life of the artist is always at risk for something as simple or destitute as insanity, because you do have the visions and you do see the creations and you do conceptualize, and people see that as hallucinations or whatever. You can ask an artist of any medium, even if they're making music, he's giving frantic energy, almost like a Dr. Hunter S. Thompson kind of vibe. So it's really interesting to see this perspective, because yeah, he did get into acid eventually. He was an adult in the 60s from what I understand. I really want to look up his birthday though, fam. I just feel like I got to know a little bit more about what I'm saying. Right? He's an American painter I got right. I might be in the wrong era. Yeah, he was born in 1912 and died in 1956. So he definitely was not alive in the 60s. Because why is he saying that he tried acid and stuff? Like, where did I get 46 from? Oh, wait, was he 46 years old? Whoa. Yeah, right? 1912 to, yeah, no, 44. That's damn close, though. That is damn close. He died in 56, and I said 46 or 46 years old. So he died in 56 and was 44 years old. I don't get I don't get the reference of the 60s and the LSD being. Well, I guess maybe that he reincarnated since then, but he was not so much as somebody, right? Then you have the complications of death in the event that time travel does exist. Correct? Interesting take. Okay. Okay, so that was it. That was okay. That was like kind of spot on. Or 40 something, So I guess that was his thing. If he had lived to his 60s, I think I was taking it the wrong way. And also, hold on, let's get back into place. I feel like he came on really strong. Once I was like ready to start, it was like he knew he was first, and it came on real strong, and I'm not even that focused on it. And obviously, well, it's funny because I got the wrong message or said the wrong thing, but then I knew to look it up and make sure I knew what I was talking about before proceeding, because I kind of felt like I was interpreting it wrong, right? Had a hunch. So he was about 44 years old when he died. If I'm doing the math right. Lived through the scandalous 20s. Okay, so yeah, he smoked weed. He would have been like a teenager during the Great Depression, in his early 20s, and an American painter. And so to even have a surplus of paint. When did he start painting? I feel like he was a lot older. And why did he say something about in the 80s? Kind of crazy. Part of me wonders if he didn't actually die. Kind of shady, right? Kind of a shady thought. It's almost like the immortality that comes with being imprinted in history and reproduced and repeated in your pictures being taken. And now everyone's being imprinted into immortality because we've created a fourth dimension that has ultimately entrapped most people who have been on the planet in recent times, whether we post them ourselves or not. Who's Paul? Who the fuck is Paul? I'm talking about Jackson Pollock. We're not talking about the Beatles. That is a pretty regular happenstance on this channel. I don't even know how and where in my life that started, except I absolutely do, and it's still so weird to me. Cool. So yeah, he smoked weed. Oh, his name's Paul? I don't fucking know, dude. Paul is admitting to being a bit of a weirdo. Yeah, I think that's what's coming down to it. He hit his head when he was about 9 years old. No. Look it up. I believe you. I have no idea. Um, if you're tripping, we're all tripping, right? I'm just kidding. That's probably not how that works. It's Paul. See, I didn't even know that. That's why I'm like not sure what the fuck he's talking about some of the time. But maybe it really was like, you know, I'm gonna spark the joint for him. That's kind of what he was asking for. And it's funny because the only card that came out was the Cardinal Hidden Talents on its side. And I think because this is Night Song Hidden Talents and it was on its side, I think ultimately he's basically saying perhaps if he was born in a different time, in a different era, he would have done different things. He would have maybe produced his art in a different way because people were not necessarily restricted, but it was almost like painting was the most accessible art form other than, you know, music would be busking or kind of like, you know, seamstress was still for just women and, you know, that's what I'm saying. So I was never a fan. And that's what he's like, I had visions and I recreated these visions perfectly. Interesting. Interesting. Who watches The Watcher, right? Um, yeah. That's why, you know, somebody requested and I was like, okay, that'll be cool. I'm sorry, I don't have commands. We're doing channel messages. Right now we're on Jackson Pollock, then we're doing Vincent Van Gogh, Frida Kahlo, and Artemisia Gentilischi. Just FYI. Um, yeah, no, I'm finding respect for him. That's somehow sometimes how these things go. Is even if you don't really like them in life, you learn so much when you die, and in death itself, right, where you're in this kind of like chamber of reflection for what feels like eternity, but might only be a few years or decades even. So, um, yeah, because he was an American painter and a weirdo. And it's not that he thought he was visited by aliens necessarily. I think he never really thought twice about what that electricity was. Once again, I love the connection series that we're embarking on, where I brought up my connection with John Lennon and seeing the blue electricity, and then Tesla brought up how his invention literally represented that blue electricity, and then like Jackson Pollock's bringing up that he'd see it, you know? I have no idea. Um, so I think he was a lot cooler than he kind of like made it out to be because once again, like it was not popular for people to be smoking weed. It was very much associated with still, like I said, jazz clubs, even into the 30s, which meant it was very more black culture than anything. So it was not common for like sophisticated or even like artistic men to be doing what they saw as like dope, you know, bad devil's lettuce. So it was very secretive. But when he finally did talk about his visions to someone, they were like, don't tell people that they're gonna find out that you do drugs, like, you know, maybe you need to take a break, blah 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 blah. And he just kind of never told anyone and kept it to himself. And I do think that is a little bit why he had such a short life, is he knew he wasn't coming out as the person he was meant to be, whether or not, I don't know who Gallagher is, that he would come out in his next life, you know. It's almost like he's basically saying he's been many people since being Jackson Pollock, and that's not the case with everyone. As I've kind of like, I know it is kind of nice. It's been a while since I've had to been, you know, that whole ordeal was rough. So like it's been quiet around here, and it is appreciated, Jelly Boy. And I do think of Bravest Warriors and Jelly Kid, and he makes toast, and he's really cute. He's Jelly Kid. Okay, so anyways, um, yeah, so he was it was a lot weirder in his next life. And that's the thing is, some people like to wait until they have everyone and until they are, you know, finished or completed and, you know, looking out or whatever. I love that. And just kind of, how else to say that he jumped in. He didn't, I don't think he had family. It looked like he had a wife. Maybe he had kids. He wasn't super attached to anything. He didn't wait for anybody. He wanted to get back in. He died young and he died unfulfilled, but he died with secrets. So, like, in his next life, he just wanted to be able to speak freely. and talk openly about some of the things that were happening to him, kind of. But it was a lot easier in a world where, yes, drug culture was more popular, right? He died during one of the more prudent eras of American history, right? The 50s. So it was sort of a meaningless life that he had, and it was cut so short that it was just not sad, He wasn't really bummed. I mean, it just was one of those things, right? So he came right back out, kind of decided to die young in all his lives because he saw his own peak of success and knew that he would just be some anonymous face in a crowd, okay? So next time you see someone like OD out at a fucking concert, think of people like John Lennon or Jackson Pollock who just desired to walk the earth for another brief mention. Can't relate. Can't relate. Never once in a lick of his life had that much money. He was rich by all means, like, was so wealthy, but could not imagine, especially if they knew the process. Because if people knew he was as crazy as they think Van Gogh is, would they still pay so much for his work? Because realistically, Van Gogh um, lived before him and had less paintings and was a lot more educated in art. And so it makes more sense. Oh, he's Dutch. So is that Netherlands? It's kind of he died in France. He was an Aries. Ugh. Um, but yeah, 1853. So it's kind of a different. He doesn't. I don't know. Mixed feelings. Doesn't really feel any type of way. Who gets that money? Did his painting sell for that, or did someone disguise their own monetary transactions under the guise that it was about his work? I think that's what it really comes down to, is the art trade has very little to do with the art, and he was a somewhat easy target. Part of why people like him do die young. It's the Jim Morrison effect, if you will. So, what are you? I didn't even ask. We always ask my newcomers. What's your sign, Jelly Boy? Part of me wants to light my hair on fire, so I feel like maybe he was and that's so funny. I kept tapping the back of my head. Oh, I know you are, Nate. I'm baby. Yeah, you are. Number 12, getting everybody caught up. I'm just kidding. Um, I feel like Jackson Pollock ended up being a bit more interesting. It's funny because I feel like I'm picturing what's his name? Pablo Picasso. And maybe he's offended nobody wanted to talk to him. Maybe we'll get Picasso um, in here tonight, because I pictured Jackson Pollock to look very similar to Pablo Picasso, who was Spanish, right? And he lived in the 80s. So that's really weird. I wonder, that's weird, isn't it? No, he didn't live in the 80s. He actually died in 73 also. That's so interesting. Yeah, I was totally picturing Pablo Picasso instead of Jackson Pollock. That's so wild. 'Cause Jackson Pollock actually looks nothing like um, him. He's got like full head of hair. So interesting. Oh no, he does here. I did say doctor. Okay, that makes more. This is the dude I was picturing. All right, I don't think it was Picasso. It was definitely just a weird picture of him in the front. And now that I'm seeing more pictures, that's definitely who I was seeing. Um, cool. Yeah. So his paintings, they were a lot more interesting than people gave him credit for. I think. Kind of not sure, but perhaps didn't die and was abducted by aliens. He would believe that shit, right? Nah, he just reincarnated a bunch. Had a good time. No, come on, tell us, Jelly. I know like everybody's sign that watches my fucking stream. Why would you not share? He's a Scorpio if he doesn't want to say. Let's be honest. It's gotta be a Scorpio. Yeah, they're the only ones who like are hesitant to tell people their zodiac sign besides Aries, and he already said he doesn't like Aries, so he's a Scorpio.